2013 was a major year for video games. The PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 had overstayed their welcome, and consumers were looking for the next big thing.
Is it too late in its life cycle to get a PlayStation 3, and should I just wait?
It was the perfect time to announce the next generation of PlayStation hardware, and Sony did just that.
This is the foundation of our next generation platform, PlayStation 4.
While on the surface, this may have seemed like just another console launch. It was only 2 years since the infamous hack of the PlayStation Network, 1 year since the Vita failed to set the market on fire, and over 6 years since the launch of the PS3. For Sony, this needed to be a home run. On this episode of IGN Rewind, we'll be taking a close look at the launch of Sony's 4th PlayStation console and dive deep into how the PlayStation 4's launch would set the groundwork for one of Sony's most successful video game endeavors yet. This is the launch and reveal of the PlayStation 4. Rumors of the next generation of PlayStation started popping up online via LinkedIn job postings.
They found the CV on LinkedIn of a guy named Attila Voss. He worked at PlayStation for about 14 years, starting in 1998. And what's interesting on his CV is that he worked on something called the next generation PlayStation. He worked on PS2, PS3, Vita, but he worked on this thing he only calls next generation PlayStation. We don't know what that is, but we assume it's the next generation console, PlayStation 4.
While numerous industry experts were speculating and discussing why they wanted a new PlayStation, there wasn't any official confirmation from Sony regarding a new console.
Rumors hit the internet about the PlayStation 4, Sony's next home console. Very exciting.
What's a code name?
Codenamed Orbis.
Oh, that's a hell of a name.
Woo!
That's a thing.
Now, the rumors have a few details to them, including the CPU and GPU, which I don't think are as exciting as a couple other pieces of information, including the fact that it apparently will not play PlayStation 3 games. Whoa, there's going to be some sort of restriction placed on the system's ability to play used games. Now, we also heard that there's a potential holiday release for 2013. So with all that said, Colin, true or fake?
It's probably true, but I don't know. I mean, so we did reach out to Sony, of course. We talked to our people there. Their usual line when they don't want to tell us anything is we don't comment on rumors and speculation. PlayStation 4's controller seems to have leaked, Scott. And these are very exciting times. Now, the story comes by way of Destructoid, who posted a picture. This is the picture, but we'll have a better version of it, obviously, appearing on your screen, of what looks like a PlayStation 4 dev kit and a PlayStation 4 controller. And a source indicates to IGN that that controller is 100% real, so there is no speculation about it.
That speculation wouldn't last too long, though.
And here we go. Sony will be making a big announcement on February 20th, and all signs point to it being the PlayStation 4. PlayStation.com is advertising a meeting to be held on February 20th at 6 p.m. Eastern, along with the invitation, See the Future.
We believe that PlayStation 4 represents a significant shift from thinking of PlayStation as merely a box or a console to thinking of PlayStation as a leading authority on play. This is the foundation of our next generation platform, PlayStation 4.
Today, Sony held a special press event in New York City and they had tons of huge announcements for us. Let's get to it. First off, the big one.
The PlayStation 4 is official, and it's coming as soon as holiday 2013. It will have an x86 CPU, 8 gigs of system RAM, and what Sony is calling an enhanced PC GPU and a supercharged PC architecture. It will be capable of running gorgeous Unreal Engine 4 games and even have millions of objects moving in real time on the Havoc engine. You'll apparently be able to turn off the system while playing and pick up where you left off just by turning it back on. Dedicated always-on hardware puts a huge focus on social functionality, where apps on Vita, smartphones, and tablets allow you to chat even when you're away from your PS4.
But we didn't just get to see the new console. Take a look at the new controller.
It's officially called the DualShock 4. It has enhanced rumble, reduced latency, a small touchpad, and a light bar to track its movements. It also has a share button, but more on that in a bit.
Not gonna lie, that looks pretty hot to me.
I'm Damon Hatfield, host and producer here at IGN. You may recognize me from such shows as GameScoop.
What was the hype like around the office when the PS4 was initially announced? So pre-E3 when they had that PlayStation conference, and then when the controller leaked like a week before.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit, it was a little bit muted at that point. It was like I said, sounds great on paper. It's the next PlayStation, it's more powerful, easier to develop for. Cool, sounds good. It was as things started to fall apart for Xbox. You know, it's just these, you see the first party platforms, they rise and fall, they come and go, and going into PS3, Sony had gotten cocky after 2 generations dominating the industry, and then that bit them in the butt. And then you see the same thing happening with Xbox. When you watch that reveal of the Xbox One, it almost seems like they don't even think of Sony as a competitor anymore. Like they want to compete with Amazon and cable companies and Comcast. So the whole reveal, there's very little talk of video games during that reveal. There's talk about how it's going to be the center of your entertainment living room, and you're going to run your cable box through it, and it's going to change the way that you watch sports. And it's probably going to require an online connection, and you can't trade your games, and you may not even be able to play used games on it. So it's like, what? It sounded worse and worse the more we heard about it, and that just made the PlayStation 4 sound better and better and better.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like sort of like the death blow was E3.
This is going to be a bigger than normal E3 with a lot of focus on next generation consoles.
E3 2013 was an electrifying conference because not only was Sony showing off their new console, but Microsoft was also showing off their new Xbox. Even though Microsoft's press conference was aired before Sony's by a few hours, the reception of their event was received in a less than stellar way and ultimately led to diminished sales and a major blow to their brand's reputation. But that's another story for another time.
Fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Right. Later that evening, all eyes were on Sony and the PlayStation 4.
Like an hour, and we're like, yeah, this is okay.
We got called back here at an hour, and Dame and I were like, it's been a solid conference. I'm waiting for the knockout punch, and then they just came out and beat the body to death. Like, I mean, it's 6.5 years I've covered PlayStation for IGN. I'm so used to them coming out and just screwing it up.
I know.
And they're coming out, and they're like, no, we got this.
Oh my God. E3
Holy
2006,
geez.
they screwed it up then.
Oh,
when they
yeah,
announced it. $600.
$599 US.
Oh my God.
I don't know. So where do we begin?
You have to.
price.
It was backloaded. This whole thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like
they were teasing us the whole way.
Yeah.
And I loved
it. You wanted more.
I wanted more.
They showed a hell of a lot of games.
Oh my God. Yeah.
The bombshells were the price.
The biggest question on everyone's mind was saved for the end of the conference. Everyone wants to know, what's it going to cost? Sony revealed that the PlayStation 4, which arrives this holiday season, will be priced at $399 US, 399 euros, and 349 pounds sterling. 20% less than the Xbox One. Damn.
The most notable thing to come out of the entire press conference, besides the console itself, wasn't an announcement for anything Sony was selling, but a direct shot at Microsoft Xbox One's always online DRM.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
Thanks. This bold jab at the competition was what Sony needed to hammer its gaming-first messaging and solidify its player-first stance for the next generation of consoles.
I think they handled it as pretty, they took that probably as far as you could without being like distasteful.
The PS4 reveal was a massive success, and Sony managed to not only reinvigorate the PlayStation brand, but also amplify the competition's confusing messaging around its next Xbox console.
There were lots of people who gave their opinions on that issue to my Twitter account before E3. It's not that our hardware policies are decided strictly based on user reaction like this, but when we were thinking about what we had to bring across and how to bring it across, it was a very useful source. Considering how Sony referenced the feedback Microsoft had received towards the end of its conference, it appears that even if the backlash didn't dictate what the Japanese company decided to do with the PS4, it was happy to capitalize on the negative reaction. SCE Japan Asia President Hiroshi Kawano added, "As of now, I feel like we're getting a very positive response. For this system, we made a list of what people expected from us, debating over each point, with user feedback forming the main basis for the list. The software makers are also telling us that they feel like they really make some fun stuff with it. A new platform always provides the basis for new forms of play, so I'd like to see it connect to a revitalization of the marketplace."
It's the fact that I think for E3 and what E3 is designed to be, PlayStation won it. I think Microsoft had better games. I was more excited about their game lineup, but only because I already knew they came out and showed like updated versions for PlayStation games, right? And I was like, that's awesome. And then what I got excited about the PlayStation was the price and then standing up for gamers like we've talked about and doing all these different things.
This is the time more than ever where you need to win on policy, because a few years ago Sony announced the PS3 and they said it's $599 US, and people said no. And had they said yes, game consoles would forever be $600+, but they weren't. And we changed that, right? And we spoke with our wallets. And this time around, Sony said, we're not going to do the used game thing. We're not going to rip people off. And they stopped that dead in its track. And if you're doing that, you're an ass. Right. And you're ripping people off. And that's the tone they set. And that's more important than any game in the world. The games will come later, but if the platform doesn't rip you off out the box, it's a good place to start.
In those first party conferences, there's always sort of a level of like one-upmanship, and they're always trying to outdo each other. But that year is like, I've never seen any of the first parties be so blatant in their like thumbs up to Xbox. Like Jack Tretton, just they addressed deliberately the fact that their console was not going to require any sort of online connection. You can trade your games, you can play used games. They're just like they hit every weak point that Xbox had sort of revealed for themselves.
Yeah,
Sony took advantage of.
The excitement around the PlayStation 4 was nearing a cult-like status. Thanks to its well-received E3 press conference and effective marketing campaign, Sony had positioned itself to become the console leader of this new generation early into its launch window.
And then, of course, on launch day, it was like, there was so much more excitement. Like, we have a video on IGN about this mass unboxing of PS4s in the office, because pretty much everyone in the IGN office had pre-ordered one. Let me just say, I don't think we had enough people to do a fun video like that for the Xbox One.
What's up, everybody? It's me, Greg Miller, and our personal PS4s have arrived here at the IGN office, but everybody's so excited we all wanted to do an unboxing video by ourselves, so we said, hey, we'll do it all at once. You guys ready? Yeah! All right then, 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody?
There it is. We got the controller right here. Let's take a look at the DualShock 4. A little bit of a dent.
Oh, nice.
And
got the handle. You know, I like the handle.
You have the watchdog guy.
Month of PlayStation Plus. So the best part about this is that if you hook it up to your TV right now, you'll be able to download the latest firmware and make sure when you get home in time, play the Assassin's Creed.
that's different than college, but I would want to know personally.
PlayStation 3, it didn't really have a built-in headset, so nobody was ever talking in PS3 multiplayer games.
It's very, very nice packaging here that you can see.
The wobble, the infamous PlayStation 4 wobble. It's because of these little dots, but don't worry about it, it's okay.
Most important
an authentic quick start guide.
But then it also comes with a controller. Oh my gosh, we got the same thing! That's why this is the most revolutionary console ever made, since the GameCube at least.
And this is the world's best HDMI cable because you know it came free in a box.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do an in-depth walkthrough of this power cable now, starting at one end. So I'm not sure what this end is for.
The console looks pretty amazing.
It's pretty amazing.
It's got the gloss
small
on top,
disc.
kind of got a matte.
I love what they've done here.
There you have it, folks. The PS4, it looks great. I'm gonna go make out with this man.
Some of us have to get back to work.
Well, that's the unboxing of the PlayStation 4.
It was very entertaining as a gamer to watch, and it was exciting to cover as an IGN employee. So yeah, I don't think I wouldn't have. I have no notes.
The launch of the PlayStation 4 was lightning in a bottle. The system was well on its way to becoming one of the best-selling consoles of all time, topping the original PlayStation at over 117 million units sold at the time of this video. Thanks to some smart marketing and one of the most effective video game press conferences to date, Sony was able to revive the PlayStation brand and launch one of the most successful consoles ever.
Thank you so much for being here. Good night.